Hello friends, let's undust some history and heritage of Lithuania, not on the main roads. A team of professional guides from Jerulita Travel are working on the development of virtual tours for YouTube and other channels. Today we are going to the sixth largest Lithuanian city, Alytus. Hello, I was in Russia and I go to Prussia. We are on the banks of the river Nemunas or Neman. This was a border between Prussia and Russia. Alytus was a city on the border and it had fortresses. Here were numerous military stages and so on and so forth. And by the end of the 19th century, railway tracks were paved and they passed here and they built a bridge across the river. So this bridge was the tallest and longest bridge in Lithuania at that time, 33 meters tall and almost 250 meters in its length. And it was destroyed during one of the wars. And not so long ago, about 5 years ago, the town of Alytus decided to restore the bridge. And now they don't need the bridge for a train, so they built a bridge for pedestrians and for bicycle riders. So it's actually a touristic attraction of Alytus. Once Lithuania and Poland were joined into a commonwealth of two nations. And for a long time it was one country on both sides of the river. In 1795, after the third partition of Poland, the left bank of the river was occupied by Prussia and the right bank of the river behind me was in Russian hands. And for many decades, Alytus, the town which was on both banks of the river Neman, was partitioned and separated. And today we will try to find out which part was developed more and where was better to live. So we are again near the river Nemunas, and from the river a small cobblestone road brings us to the market square. The Jewish community of Alytus, Alyte in Yiddish, was first time mentioned in the times of Vytautas the Great, which brings us back to 1300s. And later on, as a little bit bigger community, it was mentioned in the 1500s or early 1600s. And here, around this market square, there were a lot of Jewish houses and Jewish shops, and Jews were craftsmen and merchants, and of course maybe less of them were farmers, but still maybe some of them were. So this is, I would say, the most authentic part of Alytus too. So in this neighborhood in the 20th century we know that there were 61 Jewish artisans, 9 tailors, 8 bakers, 8 butchers, 6 hatters, 5 carpenters, 4 tinsmiths, 4 barbers, 2 blacksmiths, 2 shoemakers, 2 painters, 1 oven builder, 1 glazier, 1 book binder, 1 locksmith, 1 cod maker and 1 corset maker, 1 photographer, 1 watchmaker, 1 tailor and 1 laundry worker, and 1 other workers. According to the Jewish encyclopedia. This little sign says that it's a former synagogue and rabbi's house. It's an old sign which mentions 2 houses, the synagogue and the rabbi's house. So this modern synagogue was built in 1911. So there were some older synagogues in Alytus, and this was the newest one. They used it up until the Second World War. Later on, the Jewish community, as you know, was destroyed. All the Jews were killed, and the synagogue was used for different purposes under the Soviet rule after the war. In 1990s, it became an abandoned building, and in 2015, Jews from Lithuania, the town of Alytus, and some charity organizations collected money to renovate the old synagogue, the former synagogue. Today they have finished the exterior renovations. Still they have to do a lot of work inside the synagogue, and when it will be completed, Alytus will have a new culture center and a museum. So we are in the central part of the Prussian Alytus, more developed, nicer, bigger, and the center of today. We are on a pedestrian street with the municipality, some office houses, shops, workshops, coffee shops, whatever you need you can find here. Sixth largest city in Lithuania, in the country of 2.8 million people. It's quite a large city. A small fountain. These houses were built in the Soviet era and they are gray. It actually does remind of a great period of life in Lithuania, and some brick houses, red brick houses, they remind of a more colorful period in the old days, in the period when Lithuania was an independent country. From the pedestrian street we turned into a side street which brings us to the central park. The name of the street is Darius and Girenas, like you could see here. Darius and Girenas were two Lithuanian men who lived in the United States. In 1930s they have decided to make Lithuania famous and to make the first transatlantic flight. They went to other Lithuanians and engaged them in the idea of the first transatlantic flight. They collected money. Simple people who were not very rich, who didn't have any funds, they put together a sum of money. They bought the plane, they called it Lituanica, which means Lithuania, and they made this transatlantic flight. They almost reached the destination, Kaunas, at that time the capital of Lithuania, but in an uncertain circumstances the plane was shot on the border of Poland, Germany, and of course it crashed. So Darius and Girenas, they both were killed in this air crash, and they remained heroes of Lithuania, even though they physically didn't complete the idea, they didn't reach Kaunas. When Lithuania had its own currency, litas, their images were on the bill of 10 litas. Today, Lithuania is part of EU and we use euros. But people know their history, they remember Darius and Girenas, and almost in every Lithuanian town there is a street by their name. In the meantime, I have reached central park of Alytus. Nice big square, and in the central square, okay, cut it. This memorial was erected in 1929 in honor of Lithuanians who were killed in the battles of independence. The inscription in Lithuanian says "Žuvusiems už Lietuvos laisvę," and it was destroyed. It happened in 1934. Later on, it was rebuilt, but in the 1960s it was destroyed on purpose, following the political ideology. It was rebuilt in 1990s to decorate the central park and to restore the historical memory and to honor those who died in the battles for the independent Lithuania. These white pyramids are marking the mass graves in Vidzgiris forest. Vidzgiris forest is just outside Alytus, not far from the military base. Soviet prisoners of war were ordered to dig pits and trenches here, and in September 1941 1,357 Jews were killed here, and later on tens of thousands of Jews from Czech Republic and from other places, as well as a lot of Soviet citizens, were also killed here by Nazis and their local accomplices. I'm lighting candles in honor of the victims of the Holocaust and the Second World War. From all this tragedy, only two girls survived, Chaya Kaplan and Belkin, and this happened due to the heroic deeds of righteous Gentile who dared not to follow the orders of Nazis, and were brave to help the Jews and to save the girls. I'm not sure if you have noticed that in Alytus 2, on the other side of Nemunas River, I didn't show you any churches. No cathedral, no smaller church, because there are no churches. Alytus was a stage of several battles during the Second World War, and it was badly damaged and burned down. So the churches were destroyed as well, and of course under the Soviet rule nobody cared to rebuild churches. So the main part of Alytus has no temples today. And Alytus 1 has a small temple, St. Ludwig Church. This is one of the very few religious buildings in the whole town. It's mostly residential. In the old days it was a rural place, and peasants lived here. There was a small Jewish community, there was a small cemetery, which I'll shortly show to you. So today Alytus 1 looks like a suburb of Alytus 2, where all the major sites are located. So I entered the Jewish cemetery of Alytus 1. It was one of the two Jewish cemeteries of the town, as the town was partitioned into two parts. By the way, the cemetery of Alytus 2 doesn't exist anymore. It was close to the synagogue, and the territory was wiped out, and later on some houses were constructed there. Now here we have quite a lot of headstones. The community of Alytus 1 was smaller and the cemetery was smaller. So today there are close to 300 graves here. Some are simple ones with the stolen headstones, only with the base part. Some are more elaborate, like that little crypt ohel, which belongs to two rabbis, and it's hard to read the name. It's made out of concrete, so it's more fragile, and also it looks like somebody took care destroying part of the inscription, but I can see there that it says Yaakov, and the name on this headstone is illegible. So that's how the Jewish heritage looks like in Alytus 1. This sign says that we leave Alytus. The red line across means that you leave the municipality of Alytus. So we entered Alytus town a few hours ago. We have seen the nice bridge, the memorial, the pedestrian street, the Jewish quarter, the old market, the synagogue. Our idea was to show you what you can see in Alytus. If you have personal connection, if you have general interest in the Jewish history, in the Lithuanian history, in the Holocaust. The idea of our YouTube channel and of our guides team is to present you in a virtual way what you could do when you come and visit Lithuania. Thank you for being with us. Put likes, subscribe to our channel, send us reviews, ask for going to the shtetl of your family. We are open to your suggestions, and we will be very grateful if you do some.